Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this online lecture series of Environmental Engineering 1. Our today's topic is the service reservoirs. The contents of the today's presentation are introduction to the service reservoirs, classification of service reservoirs, various capacities of these reservoirs, mass curve method, hydrograph method, analytical method. These are the methods which are used to calculate the balancing storage or the reserve storage of the reservoir. Apart from these contents, we have included a small topic of rainwater harvesting in the today's presentation. So let us start with the introduction of service reservoirs. So in the last lecture we have seen various layouts of distribution system of the water supply or the domestic water supply. Today we will see the service reservoirs. The tanks either constructed or fabricated to store the treated water to be supplied to the various consumers of the town. These tanks are called as service reservoirs. Some functions of the reservoirs are: first function is it provides and maintains desired constant pressure in the distribution systems. So the first objective or the function of the reservoir is to provide and maintain the desired constant pressure in the distribution system. Second is they reduce the pressure fluctuations. We know that there are fluctuations in the daily demand of the water. So for example, there is a huge demand in the morning and evening hours as compared to the night hours or the other hours of the day. So there is a pressure and the demand fluctuations which we need to cope up at the time of the distribution of the water. Then they provide emergency storage for fire, failure of pump or power and bursting of the mains. So in case of any emergency, it should store the water so as to extinguish the fire, or if there is a failure of pump or any bursting of the mains. So the supply of the water should not be get closed. Okay. So this is about the functions of the reservoir. Now as far as the classification of service reservoirs is concerned, it is classified based on the three parameters. First is it is classified based on the materials of the construction. On the basis of materials of construction, they are divided into three types: masonry service reservoirs, steel reservoirs and RCC reservoirs. Okay. So obviously the masonry reservoirs are made up of the masonry, steel reservoirs are made up of steel material, and RCC reservoirs are built up in the reinforced cement concrete. The second classification is based on the elevation with respect to the ground level. The first type is the surface reservoir. Second type is stand pipes, which we are going to see in the next slide, and the third type is elevated service reservoirs, which is popularly known as elevated service ESR. Okay. Now the third classification is based on the shape of the reservoir. The first is the inch type, that we will discuss in the next slide what is meant by inch type. It is a type of a shape of a reservoir. Then second is the circular type reservoir, and third is the rectangular reservoir. Okay. The surface reservoir means what? We will go one by one. So surface reservoir is the reservoir, or it is constructed either at the ground level or below the ground level. Okay. Now they are either rectangular or circular in shape and made up of concrete or the masonry. To control the leakage of water through the reservoirs, their inside surfaces are lined with the granite, concrete or asphaltic membrane. Okay. So to avoid the leakages, they are lined inside with some membrane or the granite material or the concrete material. The lining is there. So these are the surface reservoirs which are constructed on the ground level itself, or it may be below the ground level. Okay. So this is the particular diagram of the surface reservoirs. Here we can see the various parts of the surface reservoirs, such as manhole with the cover is there, then inlet pipe, outlet pipe is there, which is ultimately connected to the pump to distribute or supply the water. Then water level indicator is there. After that, ladder is there in case of any maintenance or emergency. Ladder is provided for the minor maintenance. Then scour wall is there, masonry wall is there. Obviously this is the section of a surface reservoir. It is made up of the RCC reservoir, therefore there is a RCC column is there, and the concrete bed is there at the bottom. Okay. So these are some parts of surface reservoirs. Now second type of the service reservoir is stand pipes. These are elevated tanks supported on the ground only, without any RCC or steel framework tower like support. Okay. So these are as same as the surface reservoir, but these are quite elevated, and they are supported at the ground level only, without any of the framework such as RCC or steel like support. Okay. So these are generally made up of steel shell containing 0.2% of copper to reduce the corrosion and are cylindrical in shape. So many times we see in the city or a town some cylindrical shape water tanks are there. So they are of this type, that is the stand pipes. Okay. Diameter of the tank is generally 10 to 12 meter with 15 to 20 meter height. Of course it can be vary because the capacity of the service reservoir is depends upon the population and the daily demand of water of that particular town. So it may be vary, but generally it is 10 to 12 meter in the diameter and 15 to 20 meter with the height. Okay. This is the particular diagram of stand pipes. So this stand pipe is made up of the steel tank. There is inlet pipe with a drain pipe and a outlet pipe with a sluice valve. There are two types of storages in this type of tank: useful storage and the additional storage. There are protected ventilators and a roof covering is there so as to avoid the contamination of water through it. So these are the parts of the stand pipes which are situated on the ground itself, but they are supported. Okay. So third type of the service reservoir is elevated service reservoir. Okay. It is also referred to as overhead water tanks that are required at the distribution areas which are not governed and controlled by the gravity system of the distribution. Okay. Now these are of rectangular, circular or elliptical in shape. If the topography of the town is not suitable for under gravity, the elevated tank or reservoir are used. They are constructed where combined gravity and pumping system of water distribution is adopted. In the last lecture we have already seen there are two distribution systems of water, such as continuous system and intermittent system. So and the water may be supplied by the gravity or by pumping system, or the combination of the gravity and pumping system. So if we are using the combination of gravity and pumping system, in that case we have to go for the elevated service reservoirs. So these tanks may be of steel or the RCC. Okay. So when the water is to be supplied with the high pressure, the provision of stand pipe becomes impracticable as well as costly also. So in the previous slide we have seen the stand pipes. So if the water is to be supplied with a high pressure, then the stand pipes become impracticable and they are much costly. So in that case elevated service reservoir, which are made up of RCC or steel, are used. So all elevated reservoirs are popularly called as the ESRs. Sometimes they are also called as overhead tanks. Formerly, steel tanks were constructed on the large scale, but it is seen that their life is short due to corrosion and they require constant maintenance. Hence, nowadays we go for the RCC reservoirs of various shapes, which is shown in this slide. So, there are RCC cylindrical tanks, then rectangular steel tanks are there, then conical tanks are there, circular tank and egg-shaped tank are there. So, these are the types of various shapes of the RCC elevated service reservoirs which are frequently used in the water supply systems. Okay. Now, as far as the shape of the water service reservoir is concerned, the INS type reservoirs that we have seen in the previous slide. So, it is an RCC elevated tank of cylindrical shape. The tank is having dome shape roof and as well as the dome shape bottom also. So, here you can see the top and the bottom of the reservoir are both are of the dome shape, and the tank is provided with all the required accessories which we can see in the diagram. So, there is a manhole with a cover, ventilators are there, lightning conductor is there, RCC dome is there, inter pipe or the inlet pipe, outlet pipe is there, landing or the ladder is there. Then this tank is supported on various beams and columns. So, RCC cracking is there and the float is there. So, these are some parts of the INS type reservoir. Okay. Now, the capacity of the reservoir. The total capacity of the reservoir is the sum of three different storage capacities. First is the balancing storage, second is the fire storage, and third is the breakdown storage. Okay. So, above storages are many times they are called as a reserves. Okay. So, these are the capacities of the reservoir. If we add all these three storages, we will get the total capacity of the reservoir. Okay. So, we will see one by one. First, we will see the balancing storage, or which is called as the balancing reserve. The demand of water of a town is always fluctuating, which means in the morning and evening hours we may require more the demand is huge, and in case of the other hours the demand is somewhat very low. So, this if the demand is fluctuating, the pressure will be also the fluctuating. The function of this balancing storage is to cope up with the variable demand with the constant rate of water supply from the treatment units. Okay. So, basically balancing, the aim of the balancing storage is to cope up with the variable demand with a constant rate of supply from the treatment units. The quantity of water that must be stored in the reservoir for balancing this fluctuating demand against the constant supply is called as the balancing storage or the balancing reserve. So, this also reduces the heavy pumping at the peak demand hours. This quantity is calculated by using the hydrographs of inflow and outflow by the mass curve method, and it is also can be worked out by the analytical method. So, this is about the balancing storage. Second type of storage is called as the fire storage. The quantity of water which is required to be stored for extinguishing fires is called as a fire storage. Okay. The National Board of Fire recommends that the reservoirs should be capable of supply water for extinguishing the serious fire for 10 hours having population of 6,000 and more. So, this is the minimum requirement of the fire storage for a town of population more than 6,000 people. The fire storage or the reservoir should be capable of supply the water for extinguishing the fire for at least 10 hours, and the quantity of this fire storage is calculated by R is equal to F minus P into T, where capital R is the fire reserve in liters and capital F is the fire demand in liters per minute. There are some formulas to calculate the fire demand, such as Quisling formulas, Boston's formula, and Wright's formula. So there are 4 or 5 types of formulas by which we can calculate the fire demand in liters per minute. Then T is the duration of the fire, n minutes. Duration of fire, n minutes, that is the time. Okay, and capital P is the reserve fire pumping in liter per minutes. Capital P is the reserve fire pumping in liters per minute. So in this way we can calculate the fire storage of a town, and this is about the second type of storage, that is called as a fire storage. Now third type of storage is called as the breakdown storage. This is also known as the emergency storage. Okay, it is required to be stored to meet the demands in case of failure of the pump or failure of any driving unit like the electric motor or diesel unit, diesel engine driving the pump. It is difficult to estimate the amount of water to be stored on account of breakdown, because it is not known the nature of failure and the time required to repair. So it is very difficult to predict the nature of the breakdown and how much time it will require to get it repaired. So it can be very difficult to estimate the amount of water to be stored for the breakdown, but it is customarily to make a lump sum provision of 20 to 25% of the total storage. This confirms the need of keeping some standby units of pump with different types of the driving power. Okay, so what we have to do is some standby units must be there. If some are the diesel operated, then some of the units are of electrically operated, so that the breakdown will not happen. Okay, the total storage capacity of the reservoir in this the summation of the balancing fire reservoir and the breakdown reserve. Okay, so we can calculate the capacity of the storage capacity of the reservoir by adding all these 3 types of the storages, such as the balancing storage or the fire storage and the breakdown storage. Okay, now the calculation of the balancing storage or the reservoir. How to calculate the balancing storage, that we are going to see. The first method of calculation of the balancing storage is called as the mass curve method. A mass curve is a graph of cumulative demand versus cumulative supply versus time. Okay, the mass curve of demand and mass curve of supply are plotted on the same graph. The quantity of balancing reserve is worked out by adding maximum ordinates between the demand and supply curves, which we are going to see in the next slide. Okay, now see, for the maximum demand day, obtain hourly demands for 24 hours. Okay, if the maximum demand is given, we have to obtain the hourly demands for the 24 hours. Then we have to work out cumulative demand starting from a fixed time like 8 am or 12 pm night, etc. Then we have to plot the graph of cumulative demand against the time to get a mass curve of demand. So in this fashion we can get the demand of the mass curve. Okay, and on the same graph paper we have to plot the cumulative supply against the time. Depending upon the pumping hours, the curve will be for 24 hours or for certain period of the day, which is shown in this diagram. Okay, then we have to find out the maximum ordinates between the 2 curves. Now here in this diagram, the AB and CD are the maximum ordinates. So the sum of these 2 maximum ordinates will be the required balancing storage. Okay, so in this fashion, with the help of mass curve method, we can calculate the balancing storage of the reservoir. Now the second method is the hydrograph method. The hourly demand of the maximum day is plotted with respect to the time. In the figure which is in the next slide, the curve PQRST obtained, it's called as the hydrograph. As seen from the graph, the demand is more in the morning and evening and less during the other hours of the day. So you can check that the demand is more in the morning and the evening. So there is a fluctuation in the demand. If there is pumping for 24 hours, the rate of pumping will be equal to the average hourly demand, which is shown by the dotted line QT. Okay, that is the constant pumping, okay, and which will be equal to the average hourly demand. The area QRST enclosed by the demand line, and constant pumping line AB will represent the required storage, or which is called as the balancing storage of the reservoir. So in this way we can calculate the balancing storage of the reservoir by using hydrograph method. Okay. Now to know the analytical method, we have to solve one numerical. We have to solve it by the graphical method, that is mass curve method, and by analytical method also. Okay. So we will see the numerical. What is given? The average demand of a firm having population of 1.5 million is 260 liters per capita per day is given. Okay. The population of a town is given, that is 1.5 million, and the daily water demand is given, 260 liters per capita per day is given. The demand is to be satisfied by continuous pumping for 24 hours, means continuous system is there. The breakup of the demand is given, 4 to 10 am 90 liters per capita per day, 10 to 2 it is 45, 2 to 8 it is 80, 8 to 12 midnight it is 27, and 12 midnight to 4 am it is 18 liters per capita per day. Okay. Now how to solve the problem? First we have to calculate the total daily supply of the water. So we know the demand of the water. The daily supply is population into rate of water supply. So population is 1.5 million, which means 1.5 into 10 raised to 6 into 260, which is equal to 390 into 10 raised to 6 liters. Now we have to plot a graph, but before that see the table which is given below. The time, these all data is given in the numerical itself. 4 to 10 it is given 90, 10 to 2 it is 45, all the second column is given. Now we have to calculate the demand of a town. To find out the demand of the town, we need to multiply per capita demand by the population. So in 4 am to 10 am the demand of a town will be 90 into 1.5. Similarly for 10 to 2, 2 to 8, 8 to 12, and 12 to 4 am, the demand of the town in MLD is calculated as 135, 67.5, 120, 40.5 and 27. Then we have to find out the cumulative demand, how it is cumulatively increased. So in the first 6 hours it is 135, then it is 67.5, which means 135 plus 67.5 it is 202.5. Then we have to add 120, then it will be the 322.5, then we have to add 40.5, it will be 363, and then we have to add 27. Finally we will get 390 million liters, which is the total daily supply. Okay. Now on the basis of this information we have to draw a demand mass curve. Okay, demand mass curve, which means between 4 to 10 how much was the cumulative demand? It was 135. Then 10 to 2 it was 202. So by using this information we have to plot a graph or draw a curve of the demand mass, and the pumping mass curve, how much is the pumping rate, that we have to find out. Okay, the pumping rate we have to find out by the full demand is 390 million liters per day and the pumping is 24 hours, that is given in the numerical itself. Hence the hourly rate of pumping will be 390 divided by 24, which is equal to 16.25 million liters per hour. Okay, so on the basis of this information we have to plot a graph of the pumping graph, and we have to find the ordinate. When you will get the ordinate, see the distance in the y axis, it is approximately equal to the 62.5 milliliters, which is nothing but the answer, that is the balancing reserve which need to store as a balancing storage. Okay. Now the same numerical we have to solve by the analytical method. Now see the table, the first 4 columns are same that we have already discussed. Then we have to find out the pumping rate. Now pumping rate we have find out 390 is the total supply of the water, daily supply of the water, divided by 24, because the pumping is 24 hours pumping, therefore we will get 16.25 million liter per hour will be the pumping rate. Now we have to find out the cumulative pumping rate in million liters in the column number 6. Okay. So see in the column number 6, the pumping rate 16.25 multiply by the first column, that is the 6 hours time slot 4 to 10 am, which means there are 6 hours. 16.25 multiply by 6 will get 97.5. Again we have to add 4 hours between 10 to 2 pm, which means 6 plus 4 hours 10 hours. 16.25 into 10, which is equal to 162.5. Then 2 to 8, which means there are again 6 hours we need to add. 10 plus 6, 16 hours. 16.25 into 16, which is equal to 260. Then again we have to add 4 hours between 8 pm to 12 night, which means 20 hours. 16.25 into 20, which is equal to 325. And lastly 12 midnight to the 4 am, that means 24 hours, you will get 390 million liters. Okay. Second last column, we need to calculate the excess demand in the million liters. So how we have to calculate the excess demand? We have to subtract this cumulative demand from the cumulative pumping hours. Okay. So 4 minus 6, column 4 minus 6 will give you the excess demand. 135 minus 97.5, you will get 37.5. Similarly you will get 40, 62.5, 38, and lastly you will get nil, because 390 minus 390 is equal to 0. Okay. So now what will be the answer? The total balancing store will be the maximum of this column number 7. The maximum value of the column number 7 is 62.5, which is exactly equal to the whatever we have solved in the graphical method, that is the balancing storage requirement of a reservoir. Okay. So in this fashion we have to solve the numericals of the to calculate the balancing storage by using mass curve method and the analytical method. Now the next topic is the rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting is the accumulating and storing of rainwater by artificial methods for further utilization. Mostly it is done by the rooftop harvesting, and it is used for domestic and agricultural purposes. Okay. Why the rainwater harvesting is to be done? What are the purposes of rainwater harvesting? So first is the surface water is inadequate to meet our demand, and we have to depend on the groundwater, because we know that there are limited sources of water or the surface water, and which may be get contaminated, and we have to we have to depend on the groundwater. So to arrest the groundwater decline and augment groundwater table is the second objective of the rainwater harvesting, and to conserve surface water runoff during the monsoon. So we have to store the excess water in the monsoon, and we have to use that water whenever there will be the scarcity of water, and in the summer days we need to utilize that water. This is what the rainwater harvesting is. Lastly, the objective of the rainwater harvesting is to reduce the soil erosion. Now as far as the techniques of rainwater harvesting are concerned, there are two types of techniques: rooftop rainwater harvesting and surface runoff harvesting. Okay. So here you can see in the diagram, there are the 4 components of rooftop rainwater harvesting, which means the rainwater is collected which is during the monsoons, which is collected in the catchment area, and the catchment area will be the roof itself. Then it is transferred or transported by means of the pipes, which is called as a conduit, and then this collected water is get cleaned or filtered by using the filter media such as the sand grains or any other filter media, and then after filtration we can store that water in a storage tank and then utilize it in the summer days. Okay, so this is how the rooftop rainwater harvesting technique works. The second type of this rainwater harvesting is surface runoff harvesting. Okay, so harvesting of surface runoff and storage of the same into reservoirs such as water pans makes it available for the use when required. So in this method of collecting rainwater for irrigation, water flowing along the ground during the rains will be collected to a tank below the surface of the ground. Okay, so in the image you can see there is a runoff and which is getting stored in the tank which is constructed underground. There is a screen or the roof is placed on the tank by providing the bars. The purpose of providing these bars or the screen is to avoid the water to get contaminated and the floating matters will get trapped on the screens. So in this fashion we can store the water, or the technique of surface runoff harvesting we can use to save the water. Lastly, the uses of rainwater harvesting, how it is to be used. These are used for the four basic purposes, or there are four basic type uses are there. First is the domestic use. You can use the water for domestic purpose. Then agricultural use is there, industrial and commercial use is there. To recharge the groundwater table we can use the rainwater harvesting. Now this is what about the rainwater harvesting. If you have any doubts or any questions, you can raise your queries, or you can drop the message to me so that I can resolve your problems. Okay, so here with the presentation we have completed these two topics. So I thank you very much for viewing this video. Thank you.